Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy. And I managed to find, finally, after years, the Sacred Sites Tarot for a reasonable price. This is an out-of-print deck, and it was, I think I found it for $40 on Amazon. And it's been on there for like $399 for years. It's ridiculous. Anyway, somebody came on and had it for $40. And they claimed it was never used, and it appeared to be never used. It wasn't sealed. So maybe somebody looked for it and was disappointed. I am not disappointed. I am very happy that I took the dive. Even though I hemmed and hawed even over the $40, it was like, no. It's a low Scarabeo deck. So it has the usual multiple languages. And this is sites. Some of them are imaginary or mythical. But that's the minority. And in the guidebook, it gives you just enough, again, because this guidebook is multiple languages, it gives you just enough to orient yourself so that you can look online, so that you can look up more online. Oh, it's no wonder I can't understand it. For example, the Three of Wands is the fortress of Alamut, Iran. This was the fortress of the terrible Hassan, Sabah, the old man of the mountain who spread terror with his 7 assassins. I'll have to look it up, because I need more than that. So, this is a deck that had criticism because the cards weren't bigger. It's a low Scarabeo deck. It's typical low Scarabeo sized cards. This is the backing, and they're beautiful cards, and some detail. I don't think that they're, it would be fun to go over them because I'm older with a magnifying glass. Someone with young and good vision probably wouldn't have a problem. But I just love it. I love this deck. I even like the pale borders, and they don't, this is the Fool, and they don't put the languages on here, and then they have the Earth, and of course the number 1 sacred site is the Earth. So I'll show you all of the cards. There isn't too much else to say about them without going through the guidebook. Eventually I will make a list, and I don't know if I'll add it to this or if I'll put it on my website and just give you a link to my website of all the different sites, and maybe I will write my own little blurbs for each site, interesting historical facts for people to visit, download, take a look at, whatever. Anybody else who finds this deck, maybe they'll release it again, So it was criticized because the guidebook wasn't more elaborate, and it was criticized for not having bigger cards, from what I could see. I don't care. I love it. I've got a book of sacred sites, and I will be consulting it to see if it provides me with any useful information. That's supposed to be Sybil in her cave. But I'm not sure why these guys are wearing sheer things. This is supposed to be the Eleusinian Mysteries. But I might end up getting a book from the library or something, as well as looking it up online, looking up some of these sites online. And some of them you know, and you don't need to know too much more. Like this is Solomon's temple, which makes a lot of sense. That Solomon would be the emperor or king, and this would be the temple. So I don't know that most of them add to the meaning of the card. I find, this is the home of the Dalai Lama, I can't remember the name of it. Upon first going through them, they at least didn't detract from the meaning of the card. And for a themed deck, it strikes me as really having done a very good job of suiting the site to the usual card meaning. So I'm actually pretty impressed by that. That this is a deck where I won't feel like I have to remove the tarot associations and use it like an oracle deck. I may very well just be able to use this as a tarot deck. With some added perspective in terms of the religious sites and any meanings that they might provide. Some of them, you know, take kind of a different tack on the more contentious cards, like some of the wand cards and the sword cards that are more about person-to-person violence. They've taken it in kind of a different direction, but not entirely. Goodness knows a lot of religious, not necessarily the traditions, but fanaticism resulted in violence, still results in violence, sadly. So they made a choice to not go that route. And some of them are close enough that, like, I might change this. This is supposed to be a Jewish cemetery in Prague, and I will look up the meaning of it. And this is the death card. But when I look at that, I think of, well, first I think of New Orleans, Louisiana, and all of its, and now I can't remember the name of them. They're more than graves, because they're above ground, probably because of the shallow earth there. They're not tombs. I can't remember what they're called. I guess I'm not very death focused. Anyway, so I thought of there, and then I know that there's some places in Mexico that also have kind of graves stacked on top of each other. So that was Temperance and Ganges as the Temperance, which I love that. And then I think the Ganges appears another time. And this is something I didn't know about. So he does include those, as a religious tradition, those who are really into the esoteric. And that card is one of them. I mean, I knew nothing about most of these that they mention that have to do with that, because that's not really where I'm coming from, but it's just beautiful cards, and I love their skies. This is the star. So a lot of these places no longer exist. Certainly not in their glory. This is the Alhambra. So this is interesting. This is supposedly Jericho, and I don't know enough about the stories of Jericho to quite get it, but it's just like, to me, it's like, so she's blowing her horn, but she's not just blowing her horn. This is judgment. She's like blasting the hell out of them. And it's like, you know, if you take it in the traditional meaning of the card, where she's raising the dead, or she's calling the dead, or an angel is calling the dead to life, back to life, It's like, get the hell awake. You know, if you don't wake up, it's like a mother, you know, trying to get their children to go to school. So if you don't wake up, I'm going to blow your walls down. This is supposed to be Shambhala? Mount Fuji. Something I can't remember the name of. I've seen pictures of this, like photographs of this before, but I didn't know anything about it, so this is supposed to be, this was one where I'm like, huh? It's supposed to be the Hesperides. Women with pubic hair. It's so rare to see that on a card. And this, I think, is perfect for the, is it the five? The Five of Cups, yeah. I ended up reading at some point in my life an interesting article about the Taj Mahal and about how it was built by a mourning husband. I don't know that he was husband. She probably had more than one wife, but you know what I mean. And this, I had no idea about this place of the Black Madonna, is it? Where the gypsies congregate? I know, I call myself Thistle Gypsy, and I'm just not with it. And I don't know why. Seven of Cups, probably because you're imagining things. That's probably why it's Loch Ness. Favorite place to imagine things. I think this is the other Ganges card. This was interesting, is the Fountain of Youth that the conquistadors were searching for. I can't remember exactly what this is, but it's the headwaters of the Nile. And this was a curious card to me. This is one of those esoteric things, some secret hidden alchemy place in Italy. So I learned a lot just looking at, I learned about my ignorance. I learned a lot about my ignorance going through this. At first I was pulling out the cards that I would have to do a little research on. In the end I pulled out so many I thought, well, this is ridiculous. I'll just look everything up. I'll just go through the deck and write it up. So yeah, I won't be using this deck real soon because I do want to look things up, but I'm very optimistic about being able to use it regularly as a tarot deck. This was a curious inclusion. What is it? Minoan, it's Crete. No, I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, you've got the Minotaur, where the Minotaur was. So obviously all continents, you've seen the Americas, this is France, the caves in France, you've seen India, you will have seen by the time you're done both China and Japan, and here we are in Africa, and we were there in Egypt. This is Mali. Not a lot in Africa, but a little bit. I tried to touch on it. And here's Australia for you. And to they do. New Zealand, maybe? No, I think I'm thinking of something else. We'll have to see. Or New Guinea. New Guinea. So this is the Americas, United States again. Even though the webcam won't focus on it. England appears more than once. Ireland appears more than once. I can't remember where this is. It might be in Italy. It's interesting. I've seen photographs of a lot of these. So I like this as, is it the ace? Yes, it's the ace of wands, is the burning bush. It's supposed to be Mount Sinai. This is another mystical mystery place. This is the place that I read to you about where the evil guys seem to live. And what is that? 7 assassins, and this is the 3 of wands. That's China. Is it the hidden city? The hidden palace? I can't remember. Yes, is this? No, this is in Italy. And that's Mount something. They didn't call it Mount Everest, but they said it was the highest mountain in the world. Or maybe it was the highest mountain in Nepal, but I thought that Mount Everest was in Nepal. An interesting depiction of the Great Wall, where there's a lot of fighting around it. So I'll be curious to look that up. I'll be looking up battles along the Great Wall, because my cursory understanding is that it was built, but that it never served the purpose of being a bulwark in battle. I could certainly be wrong. The 8 of Wands, I love this one too, the Nazca lines, the Nazca figures. That makes a lot of sense to me as being messages, a bunch of messages. Yep, again the 9 of Wands makes sense. The terracotta warriors. This is strange. This is supposed to be a well in Ireland. And why being a well would have to do with water, so why it's Wands, let alone the 10 of Wands, I don't understand. Excuse me. I've had a very raspy throat. And I don't think I'm getting a cold or anything. I think it's allergies. Something's blooming. Maybe it's ragweed. I like this is the Knight of Wands, guy in a camel. I'll have to look this place up. The good old pharaohs for the kings. This was totally new to me. I think this is another place in Nepal or Tibet. It's interesting that they put this in swords, but they did. This is the 2 of Swords. So why? I don't know why a Zen garden would be there. But I don't have any objection to that. Another interesting decision to put a natural place in here, as this is that comet that fell in Siberia, I think it was. I don't know that people consider it a sacred site, but it's an interesting idea for the 3 of Swords. This is supposed to be Charlemagne. This is a curious cave. So just so fun to, really fun as tarot enthusiasts a bunch of old lady and old man tarot enthusiasts to go on a trek to, I think this is supposed to be Mali again, to all the sacred sites amongst the sacred site tarot. And that's the way I see it. I see it as, you know, all of these desiccated people that go for bus tours of Italy or wherever, you know, and of doing that. So for the Seven of Swords, I thought this was actually kind of amusing. So this is the Bermuda Triangle. And it's not amusing to look at because you've got all those dead bodies down there, but the disappearance. So if you think of the Seven of Swords as stealing and things mysteriously disappearing by somebody stealing them, here we go. The Bermuda Triangle, mysteriously being zapped, taken alive. Who knows why they disappear in the Bermuda Triangle. This is supposed to be Delphi, I believe, the Oracle at Delphi. Again, I don't know if it's just the low Scarabeo, the Italian artist. She has to be wearing something sheer and be showing her boobs. So I don't know if they were forced to be there. You know, this is the Eight of Swords. So that was a question in my mind, if they were somehow forced to remain there. The weeping wall, is this? Wailing wall. This is some kind of Nazi citadel. And that's pretty weird. I'm sorry to all those of you in Germany who have... There might be another site in Germany, but that's a shame. This is the main one. It's only one of two. I'm not sure that there is another one, but... So a Nazi citadel. But it is at least the Ten of Swords, and thus it died. It had a lot of swords. The movement, at any rate, had a lot of swords put into it. There's Notre Dame, however you want to say it. I think this, for the knight, is a crusader, or Knights Templar there. Gosh, now I can't remember where they said this was, but to me, that looks like Medusa. Is it supposed to be some kind of forest? I might look that one up real quick. This is the Queen of Swords. And finally, the King. We have an old man at Glastonbury. There's the Glastonbury tour. So what a cool deck. What did it say for the Queen of Swords? Not German. German isn't going to work for me. And here they call them places of air. Swords are places of air. The walnut tree of Benevento, Italy, known as the City of Witches. In ancient times, this place was sacred to the Mother Goddess and often the site of pagan rituals. I didn't know about the walnut tree of Benevento. So there you go. There is Sacred Sites Tarot. And there are a couple of publisher cards knocking around in here, but that's all they are. This came with this, but I assume it does not come with the deck normally. I don't see how it would have fit in this little box. So that was just a sweet little added thing from the person I purchased it for. So that's lovely. Purchased it from. So I'm very happy with my Sacred Sites Tarot, one I've wanted for a long time, and if my deck purchases for this year stopped right here, I would be happy. But they're not stopping. I intend to continue, maybe not as much as the past couple of weeks, but I do, you know, as long as I can afford to, I'm going to allow a trickle of decks, kind of wean down my list as long as I do have this second job. So, yes, more fun to come. Take care, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it helps you make a decision. Should it become available again, or should you run across it somewhere? Grab up that Sacred Sites Tarot. Bye-bye, everybody.